Welcome to the program once again. Now, with over 93 million eligible voters on the INEC voters register and only 7 days left to the 2023 presidential election, the Naira scarcity in the country has continued to persist, affecting businesses and the economy, including Nigeria's electoral body, INEC. But after asking Nigerians to give him a few days, the President Muhammadu Buhari this week directed that the old 200 Naira note should continue in circulation until April to ameliorate the suffering of Nigerians. Now, some experts argue that this only has little respite as the Naira is still not readily available in most banks and ATM points. The queues have been on the increase and many Nigerians have been protesting, even as the government says more measures are being put in place to cushion the effect. There have been several political dimensions to the policy, with some state governors defying President Buhari's orders as they insist that the Supreme Court's injunction should be complied with to allow for circulation of all the old Naira notes alongside the new Naira notes. Well, to help us understand all of this as we head towards the election, we'll be joined by Professor Udenta, who is the founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy. Thank you, Prof.
It's a pleasure, Sumner.
Yes, what a week full of several intrigues, protests. The political class is up against some policies by President Muhammadu Buhari, especially members of his party. And of course, there have been calls for restraints by some Nigerians, elder statesmen here and there. What's been your view and where do we go from all of these issues?
Sumner Sambo, I call your name in full. And I speak with pain in my heart. And I'm channeling the pains of millions of Nigerians. And I'm channeling the pains and angst of thousands of our proud patriots who suffered for this country's democracy, its restoration. So my last detention, 6 of them, the last one was for 3 months on a cold cement floor. I didn't take my bath for 3 months. I didn't shave my bed for 3 months. I didn't steal money. I didn't dupe anybody. I was fighting for civil liberties and democratic restoration. During that period of struggle, I didn't see Arufai in prison, in detention. I didn't see Governor Bello.
That's Yaya Bello of
Kogi State. I didn't see Ganduje of Kanu, who have taken it upon themselves, possibly, maybe unconsciously, to implode the infrastructure of democratic governance in this country. When he's talked about some governors voting against the president, please be precise. APC governors, all of them, in the same party. The same policy trajectory of this government.
Isn't it because the president has also taken steps that seem to be unconstitutional?
Wait, please. This thing doesn't call for rushed words. It calls for a sense of alarm about the threat to this democracy. Mr. President, who I'm not speaking for, I don't back his government or his party, made a pronouncement that many jurists are conflicted in terms of his placement in law. I read J.A. Dowda, former son. Yeah. That is sound legal opinion. I read that of Adegboro. Could be sound opinion too. It's for the Supreme Court to rein the president in. Not for another governor who didn't play a role in this democratic struggle. To hold a counter broadcast and declare his state insulated from presidential power. That is now an independent entity in Kanu. And Ganduje of Kanu and Bello of Kogi State declared war on the president of the country and on their own party. That their power doesn't reach to our states. We now make the laws on currency for our people, no longer the CBN or the federal government, an inviolate entity, as it were. My first call on behalf of patriots is to ask President Buhari to put his house in order, to rein in his party.
Yeah, because it's only the governors, even his minister, Festus Keyamo, has come to say that the president did not get proper advice
from this same party, APC, from this same government. We are hearing the stories of coup d'etat. You hear the story of interim government and aborting democracy. We suffered and paid with our lives and blood and sweat for and tears for, all within the same party. Mr. President is watching the frustration of his government collapsing before his very eyes and watching his party imploding before a week to election, his party imploding. He should find a reserve of strength and energy. Not because I back him, I said I don't, or his government, or his policy, or his party, but because of Nigeria.
So what do you expect the governor, the government to do to these governors? Since they also enjoy immunity like the president.
I expect the president to bring out all the tools and assets of presidential power, not undermining the constitution. He needs to have a conference of even his own party. I won't prescribe the policy for him to do. A conference of his party. They are speaking at cross purposes. Do you know the implication, Sambo? The election campaign of Bola Tinubu is dead. Well, you know why it's dead? You know why it's dead? When the president of the country is the leader of the party, he brought in content of leaders of the party. When he assault the president and insult and humiliate him, humiliate his base, humiliate his people, he humiliate his backers. The gloves are off in APC. Last time I was here, I told you that President Muhammadu Buhari, his associates and the elements in the villa that they called criminals and saboteurs should be alarmed not about a political presidency, but the presidency of Bola Tinubu. It is not in the open. The Bola Tinubu is now the high priest of these governors, marshalling them and saying, defy the president. Defy Mohamed Buhari.
Well, they actually denied that. I mean, the APC presidential campaign council denied that Bola Tinubu never asked them to do that. But why do you think this rebellion will come so strongly from the president's party? We heard the national chairman of the APC has summoned a meeting for Sunday where they will be discussing some of these issues.
Let me tell you why
just a few days before the election.
You mentioned that of a serving minister. I don't hardly mention people's name. I have no issue with the minister. In a responsible government, when the minister disaligns himself from the government of the day, like Mohammed spoke, I'm not his fan. He said, Bola Tinubu, like I said with you here severally, will run on Buhari's legacies. He's going to be the daughter Mohamed Buhari.
Yes.
He said so.
He said that Tinubu is not an independent candidate, that he should be running away from Buhari's policies and programs.
So if you as a minister will disalign from the policy of a government, whether that policy is a sweet policy or a bad policy, you must accept it. The moment you revolt, you have no place in that government. I'm not the SGF or the president. I'm not SGF.
Or she'll be fired. Is that what you're asking?
There are two ways to do it. If you don't resign, something else happens. Like for me to not litigate, I won't even litigate that. I'm saying if you disalign from the government, if you decide to break that code of loyalty of yourself as a minister to the president and to the government you're serving, and you make statements that are harshly critical of that president and that government, you do the needful. If you do not needful, the government should do the needful. That's why I'm calling upon Mohamed Buhari, not because of APC or because of this coming election, because of a democracy. Sambo, in 1999, I was invited to Washington by the High Council of National Endowment for Democracy, International Republican Institute, National Democratic Institute, and International Foundation for Election Systems to speak on Nigerian democracy. They thought I was going to assail Obasanjo and the new PDP. I said, no. If the military were to come, as APC people are calling, including Rufai, it will not spare Alliance for Democracy. It will not spare APP and say, oh, PDP are the bad guys. Democratic infrastructure will collapse. Civil liberties will be lost. Constitution will go. Okay. That is why it is important that as the party APC is meeting, whenever they're going to meet, it is not to salvage a campaign already dead. It's to ensure that the party does not constitute a menace to our democracy.
Now, Professor Udenta, do you think that this is the general thinking within the Bola Tinubu campaign to actually defy the president's orders? And that's why you see that the governors are going all out and saying that, look, this should happen, this should not happen, including the spokesman of the campaign, who is a minister in the serving government, saying that the president got the wrong advice and yet he's still maintaining his ministerial portfolio. And this. Should Bola Tinubu not seek an audience with President Buhari now, to try to extricate himself from all of this?
There are two things I've said, deposited out there in public. One is the metaphor of the goat head and the goat skin. The goat head is that of the president and his apparatus of presidential power. The goat skin is when the candidate Bola Tinubu, Rufai, the party, campaign spokesperson. So they are one. They are tied together. He's saying that policy after policy, what is Naira redesigned with maybe good noble intentions, now fracturing and unraveling into chaos and disorder with long lines and debts. Whether it's a persistent fuel scarcity for 13 months, whether it is Chibok guests and Dapchi guests who haven't come back, and Rufai and his ilk have not even called a press conference, not to talk of taking people to Supreme Court. When you talk about Nigerians living in miserable poverty that is multidimensional in nature, and they've not even gone to court. When you talk about the country collapsing on all frontiers, look at banditry, look at terrorism, look at unknown government and so on, and they've not gone to court. Tinubu is staring the disaster in his face. That is why the party is rumbling. That's why the campaign is completely up in arms against everybody.
Isn't he right to actually be angry with some of these policies? Because it looks like President Buhari is bringing a lot of stumbling blocks ahead of the elections. And if you were Bola Tinubu at this time, wouldn't you be angry?
On this platform, in this studio, it's not ready to prescribe policy for anybody, for the government, for Mohamed Buhari, and for Bola Tinubu. They belong to the same stock. If you have a bad policy, you must embrace it as your own. This policy of Naira redesign and Naira swap is APC governmental policy. Emefiele is part of APC. Was to become president of APC if conditions were right. Attorney General who defends the government in court is part of APC. Mohamed Buhari is the president commander-in-chief. Bola Tinubu is the leader of the party. Erufai is the chief strategist. They can't run away from their shadow because it is crumbling before their eyes. That infrastructure of power they built is crumbling.
But what if they were not consulted by the president?
Now,
these actions are being taken? Because Erufai has said that the APC should be left out of this conversation. Because APC never promised Nigerians a Naira redesign, and the president didn't seem to have consulted with many of them.
APC can be consulted on every single tissue of policy the government throws out there. The duty of APC is to embrace the president and back his policy, whether it is popular policy or not. When you have a manifesto, must it cover everything in the sun? Naira redesign from what Emefiele told us is right time and proper to do it after 19 years. If you roll it out for 4 months and people are still keeping billions, because apparently APC governors are interested more in the old stock of illegal currency and not the new stock, which they should pushed to be more in the market. If they apply the kind of pressure on the president and Emefiele of CBN in bringing these new notes, if they have become more proactive, more engaging, I will understand that it's a bad policy, it's unraveling the whole country, it's upending the social fabric, but it's their own. But suddenly to assail the president and think about coup d'etat, think about interim government with audacity because you earn some constitutional protection is something that is worrisome. And that is why patriots like us will not close our mouth. I called Bola Tinubu, the candidate of the party. I called Erufai and these governors to order. And I asked the president to rein them in. Whenever they're stumbling into disaster.
All of these things have been designed to ensure that the elections do not hold, so that eventually there will be some sort of chaos.
Let me tell you.
Where do you think these guys will get that kind of information? And aren't they in the position to actually have those kind of information?
Sonny, don't go there. This election we hold. Honestly, that is one of the things I wanted to deposit here. Whatever question you can ask me, I want to take this opportunity to assure Nigerians the election for 25th February 2023 we hold.
Are you an INEC? And are you in the government that you give them this assurance?
A president will emerge after that election, and 2 weeks later, the state elections we hold. Neither Erufai nor Bola Tinubu nor Ganduje or Bello of Kogi State will scuttle this election. If their campaign is floundering and failing, that is a problem. They should sort out their mess. Let me tell you what it is like. There's something I call the ritual of incineration. In those days, in the past, when you have an old age passing away, like APC is passing away, you bring out used utensils, disused clothes. You take them today, either the marketplace or to evil square, evil forest, and burn them. This party, as bankrupt morally as it is, as failed in policy as it is, the Tinubu's campaign floundering must all be taken together in a good skin bag, not to the market square, but to the evil forest and be burned. That's on 25th February.
Well, now we want to ask, why is it that the PDP seems to look like it's benefiting from all of these things? Because the APC has been alleging that the PDP and its presidential candidate just seem to be providing some sort of backing, including we've seen PDP governors of Bayelsa and Edo State backing President Buhari on this, while the APC governors against it. What exactly is the relationship between Buhari and the PDP and its governors?
Now you have Chuma Soludo of Apuga, a governor of Anambra State. Now you have the other PDP governors. Let me put it clear. 3 main reasons the central bank governor, with the backing of the president, wanted to change this Naira stuff. Hoarders, counterfeiters, terrorists, and election riggers. If PDP want to rig election, it will be screaming like APC, who may have kept billions somewhere we don't know. I said it before, and it's happening before our eyes. If the other one, Apuga, they have candidates all over the whole place too, maybe not the strong presidential own, but they have other candidates, you'll be screaming. People want to demonetize the electoral process. They want people to cast their vote and they should count. Why is Labour not protesting? Labour Party. Everybody should say, oh, this is not a good policy.
And the president says, I mean, the policy is a success.
Because everybody, if you have pain today, that pain is going to last forever. I ask you again, 8 months of students being out of school. Erufai didn't talk. He didn't go to court. Kaduna, under his watch, has melted away with ravaged by bandits and abductors and terrorists. He didn't go to court to persuade the government, the president, to do something. So look at NSAS. Look at salary wages. Look at El-Rufai himself, who hardly obeys any court order. As a minister, as Kaduna governor, the list is endless. If I have time, I will read them to you. I have them. And then suddenly, there is now a highfalutin, extravagant desire to tackle the president, not even in a sensible manner, not even in a respectful manner. That the president will finish a broadcast on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and the following day or later that same day, you sit down in a state, Kaduna,
yeah,
and
I mean,
you are defying,
aren't we practicing democracy with, you know, each tier of government and then the structure of government having its own powers? It is not that.
I read something, somebody wrote somewhere, I will mention the name, he said, everybody knows he cannot enact currency policy. He knows he cannot even implement whatever he said. The police belong to the president, the army to the president, the DSS to the president, the civil defense to the president. They could pull out of them today for any reason and say, okay, these guys need to retool their strategy for election, something. For 48 hours, El-Rufai is left alone in the street like any common person. So he cannot implement his policy. He cannot design currency. It's part of the power you may think of as a governor. That exclusive power of the president. And he called a press conference in Kaduna, the capital of northern Nigeria, to defy the president, to call him names, to condemn his policies and his government, and the same party they belong to. When a party is against itself, there's something we call the far corner not hearing the far corner. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. May anarchists lose upon APC. That may anarchists lose upon the party.
Now, I come back again to the PDP. You haven't answered that question. Why does it look like the PDP seems to be the biggest beneficiary?
I'll tell you the biggest.
Is there a deal between President Buhari and the PDP and Atiku Abubakar?
I'll tell you the biggest beneficiary. I've answered the question. Said Nigerians are the biggest beneficiary, even in our pain and suffering. In different format, I asked somebody, "Do you have the old currency?" He said, "No." We said, "Why?" Because I had 4 months to change it. I go to the bank, I struggle. I go to POS, I struggle. I go to ATM, I struggle. I say, but we're going to outlive this mess. COVID came with a bang and shut us down for 7, 8, 9 months. Our life was frozen. We didn't die. This currency refixing may well work. As I said, I don't want to glorify and laud the president because it's not my duty as an analyst who has a preference in Atiku Abubakar to win this election. Okay, so, but if Nigerians are going to benefit ultimately, the idea is to let this policy work. PDP is allowing it to work. Labour is allowing it to work. Africa is allowing it to work. Nigerian masses are pained and bitter and angry, but they should allow it to work with calmness of spirit and equanimity of soul. Only APC governors, led by the presidential candidate, is rioting all over the place. And they've taken the gloss off against a sitting president of their own party. You know why I'm bothered about this and obsessed about this particular subject? I suffered pain. And Bola Tinubu suffered exile. The shock is for him to be part of this crowd, edging on stories about coup d'etat.
Okay, as we try to round off this conversation, Professor Udenta, let's talk about the elections. As we head towards the elections now, INEC is going to be needing some of this currency to be able to do its business. The CBN has assured, but well, we are still waiting to see if, of course, they are given the first line charge in the distribution of the currency. As we head towards the election day, what exactly have you been noticing? Have you got the right rhetoric from some of these presidential candidates? Your preferred candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is being seen as someone who is, you know, trying to weigh his words carefully because he's presumed to be the crown prince of President Buhari and others.
That was somebody's insinuation, you know, out of the dark. It doesn't matter to anybody. PDP is an opposition party. APC is opposition. Labour Party is opposition. They are comfortable at the level of their campaigning. The momentum is with PDP. I told you here some weeks back that convergence of national forces streaming from the north and heading southward is seismic in nature and technologic in spread. It's building around Atiku. Labour Party is not doing badly. It was some division momentum. But as I said, the landfall will not have the spread, the depth, and the reach, and the breadth to win. But when Atiku is won in, as he's bound to, because the APC campaign is over. Well, wait. Allow me to make my point. Just when he's won in as bound to, he must bring in the radical spirit, the disruptive, revolutionary energy of the obedience. And other patriots, even though some rump of patriots in APC, to build a broad government of national unity. Where the campaign lies now is that the rhetorical devices are extremely very harsh. The polemics out of this world, but unfortunately centered around one particular entity, the Alliance for Democracy, the All Progressive Congress. So the key thing for me, as an analyst, you know, to look at is to understand what is at play here and to be mindful of the fact that no matter the level of the rhetoric, no matter the passion in display, all they begin to wind down. By Wednesday, Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, the campaigns will be over. 2 days of redesign, restructuring of the mind, and then get ready for the election. 3-4 days later, election result will be announced.
Okay, Professor Udenta, we've seen some big events actually happen during the week too, where we saw Nyesom Wike, welcoming Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the government house in Port Harcourt, insisting that look, the fight of the G5 is all about equity and all of that, and the support for the Southern presidency still remains very strong. And of course, Makinde and Oyo doing the same, but we saw Governor Samuel Otom backing Labour Party, and Ugwanyi and Ekpeazu, they seem to have been quiet, and some people say they are heading towards an article. Now, what do you make of that development?
People pick things out of the park. You unpack things the way you see them. Some of the things Wike said to you was that, look, I'm not here to support you. I can't support you. I don't support their party. I don't support their government, and so on and so forth. So you can unpack that one too. The key thing is that the G5, as an integral formation, has now what they call blunted insurrection. When the insurrection is blunted, it means that it has either overreached itself or run its muffled course. When it runs its muffled course, the energy that powered it initially will dissipate gradually. That is why Otom can do what it's doing separately. Makinde will look at the local situation and they say do something that suits the local environment. Ugwanyi and Ekpeazu understand the nuances of the police of the southeast, so they have to bend to that nuance. At the end of the day, the key thing is that democracy is in action. PDP is intact. That is what people never thought would happen. Which one has unraveled? Well,
we've seen Atiku Abubakar looking like he seemingly has survived the rebellion of his own governors. Now, how is President Buhari going to survive the rebellion of his own governors in his party?
I can tell you what is there. I don't know the president extraordinarily very well. But when I see a picture of a man detached, it means that I've had a play with history and time. My legacy is still an unsettled matter. Maybe 10, 15 years, Nigeria could become much more accommodating of the nuances of my power and my accomplishments. For now, the governors can rave as much as they like. If you make a policy and they stand by the policy, they put enormous pressure on him. They've gone to harass him in his house. They've told him to do this and that. He wake up and give an address. That address to me was measured. Like I said, I will not speak for the president or his party. He said, bring back the smallest of the notes. The one he cannot pack in sacks and bullion vans. Okay? Not the 1,000 and the 500 can pack in bullion vans that could somehow miss their way. But if you have 200 notes, it could take about 40,000 bullion vans to accommodate them. So bring those ones for the masses. Quickly, the APC governor should, rather than making this noise about coup d'etat and interim government, press on the CBN governor, press on the workers, the deposit banks to make sure that by Monday at least, the ATMs, the POS, the banking halls are flooded with the old 20 Naira notes if you cannot find a new currency.
Okay, very interesting. As we try to round off this, I just have to ask you this before we go. Professor Udenta, what exactly do you have as a message to INEC and Nigerians as we head to election day, so that we don't wake up on election day like it happened in the past and we're told by INEC that, look, we need to postpone this election? Okay,
now it is too late for now, except something very dramatic happens, like worst thing that happened in Syria and Turkey. I hope it's such a dramatic event, very traumatic event, should not take place. So long as that is not the picture, the election we hold. INEC has assured us repeatedly, even the CBN governor has assured Nigerians that we have sufficient funds for INEC and for the security agencies. It's very important to have physical money for them far field. Elections are planked by two platforms, the internal environment when they talk about INEC. INEC has assured that the beavers have been test run with integrity tests. That means it is going to work. Electronic transmission has been equally test run, so it's going to work. If they have the CBM facilities across the country to deposit their critical and non-critical materials, and they have their both normal staff and ad hoc staff prepared to move into the field under the election in time with those materials. If they're prepared to answer the questions of observers and voters and so on, we press on them to answer. And if their system is not hacked, which I hope is strong enough not to be hacked, we have a decent election. For the standard environment, the police, the military, the voters, the political parties and the candidates themselves should behave in a manner consistent with expectations of democracy.
Well, we also expect the presidential candidates to remain calm and not overheat the polity as we head to election day. It's very important. Almost thank you so much, Professor Udenta. Udenta is the founding National Secretary of the Alliance for Democracy. He's an analyst, policy strategist, political communication specialist, and all of that. We must thank you for helping us to unbundle all of this. And we wish you and your preferred candidate well ahead of the election, but of course the Labour Party or the NMPP or
sure.
The APC
They
will
may think
disagree
otherwise.
with you
Okay,
that
okay.
Atiku Abubakar is going to emerge winner, but it's left for the Nigerian voters to have their say on election day. Thank you so much for coming.